For this video, I'm going to showcase the third meta deck that I've been playing as of late in Hearthstone. Again, I picked it back up recently, crafted a bunch of stuff, and I'm playing some different lists, and I like different ones for different reasons. This is Conjuring Mage. Now, it's called Conjuring or Conjurer's Mage because the entire deck centers around Conjurer's Calling, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But essentially, this is very similar to if you've played Hearthstone a long time ago. Decks like Hand Block, where you're trying to fill your hand and then do busted things. If you're coming from like Legends or something like that, then the short version is that this deck is a control/combo deck. So, Conjurer's Calling here, for 3, you destroy a minion and it summons 2 minions of the same cost to replace it. And your goal is to play this on Mountain Giant. So Mountain Giant is an 8/8 that costs 12. And essentially right now in standard for Hearthstone, there's 2 12-cost creatures. More Mountain Giants are what you will make with Conjurer's Calling, or there's another card that is essentially a 7/8 taunt. So either way, you get big bodies. And because Mountain Giant costs less for each other card in your hand, you play conservatively in the early game to flood your hand so that hopefully you can play this on, like turn 4 or 5. If you have the coin, for example, on turn 4, you can play the Mountain Giant and then coin out a Conjurer's Calling and immediately get some big bodies. Now, Conjurer's Calling also is a twin spell, so for each one you draw, you can essentially play it twice. So there's like 4 of these in your deck, essentially. And so not only can you play this on things like Mountain Giant, but even on things like Kalecgos, it's very, very good. You've got Rabble Bouncer, which against token decks you can oftentimes play for cheap and then get an early calling on just to get more value. Astromancer, this is a 7 cost that also summons a random minion with a cost equal to your hand size, again trying to exploit your big hand, and so on and so forth. So that is the gist of the deck. The rest is either just like early game or defensive stuff. Book of Specters, you draw 3 cards and discard any spells drawn. You're trying to fill your hand up early so that you get your cheap Mountain Giants. Fire Tree Witch Doctor. This is nice because it replaces itself. You discover a spell, so your hand size doesn't go down while you're still giving yourself a presence on the board. Sunfury Protector I'm running a pair of because if you don't roll the 7/8 taunt with your Conjurer's Calling, being able to play a Sunfury on your 8/8 Mountain Giants is a great way to stall the board. Khadgar is in here because your cards that summon minions summon twice that money. That counts for Conjurer's Calling, that counts for things like Astromancer. It's just an overall incredibly powerful, unique legend in this list. Mind Control Tech, yeah, I run a pair of them because, again, if you're kind of sitting out the early game waiting for your hand to get large, your opponent's likely going to get a pretty sizable board. Being able to pay 3 to get a decent-sized body and steal 1 is nice. Scaleworm, this is essentially a 5/4 with Rush, so you use it like a removal. Twilight Drake, again, big body if you've got a big hand and pairs nicely with those Sunfury Protectors if you don't find giants. Dragonmore Scorcher, this, again, one, it's a dragon, so it helps with your Scaleworm triggers and your Witch Doctor triggers, but also this helps clear the boards that go wide. Harrison Jones draws your cards. Ziliax, not really running the mech synergy, but just a busted good card. Mossy Horror here is another potential board sweep against token-style decks. If they get their board like wide enough and they buff it up, Mossy Horror does nothing, and to be honest, in that case you probably just lose, but it's in here to help try to keep that from happening. Crowd Roaster is good single target removal in the late game because you're probably going to have a dragon, so you get a 7/4 and you nuke something. That's nice. Again, I'm running Bouncer because there's a lot of token or go wide decks floating around, and so this gets cheaper and it gives you a good alternative to Mountain Giant at times if you want to pair it with the Conjurer's Calling. So anyway, this is the list. Like I always do when I make these videos, we're going to go play a couple of games so I can showcase the list, show it off, give you a feel for exactly what you're trying to do or accomplish with it, and hopefully understand its goal when it tries to win.
Khadgar versus Morgul.
All right.
Knowledge is power.
Going first is a bit of a disadvantage with this particular deck because the coin counts as an extra card. We kind of get that for free. Mountain Giant is key to our game plan, so we want to keep that, but we can go ahead and throw these back. Looking for just more early game, more card draw. Book of Specters is magnificent. Second Giant, pretty solid here as well. Now, Shaman comes in a couple of different flavors. Could be the Murloc version, or it could be the more spell-oriented version.
Job done.
So we're gonna go ahead and draw and hit the jackpot. That is 3 cards that were all, you know, not spells, so we didn't have to discard it. This tells me this is not likely the Murloc version. They don't typically stay that conservative here. And, I mean, we want to get rid of totems. Like, even more so, the spell power one's kind of annoying, so I guess we'll put that there. You could argue that it needs to go face as well, but let's just try to clear up totems. We do not have a Conjurer's Calling yet, though, so we are still missing, you know, part of the actual combo. In this instance here, let's go ahead and get rid of that. We're okay with playing this because it's going to discover a spell, so it replaces its spot in our hand. I'll take the Fireball just for the reach. And likely would develop at least 1 giant next turn and make them have to deal with it. Since this is the Spell Shaman, I fully expect them to have an answer for this.
Unity, precision, perfection.
It's a moderately annoying pickup for our opponent. I kind of just want to trade with that, actually. Give myself another turn to maybe draw a Conjurer's Calling. Because if on the off chance they don't have the Hex, I don't want to give them a free whack at my giant and then combine it with some sort of direct damage. So we're gonna go ahead and take this path. It's very good for them. Sadly, still no calling. Could just hold on the giants and develop this as a threat, which I think is what we're gonna do. The problem, though, is that this is, while it's very, very good in some matchups, not so great here. Shaman's ability to silence and then poke this means that 10 health is effectively no health. And this might have been a mistake. Again, because I have 2 giants, letting 1 go isn't, I guess, the end of the world, but we really want to make sure we get value out of that if we can help it. And we are 1 turn away from, like, Astromancer, so at this point, it's not the end of the world. Astromancer is very, very good for us. We have a pair of them. And there's the Earth Shock. They tutored it up by playing the 0 cost, which then meant that this found a 1 cost. And this walking fountain is annoying. And sadly, we don't have a good way to deal with it at the moment. I mean, we could Fireball and Fire Blast, but we have to assume that they're going to have some way to heal it. Now that we know they're running Ancestral Healing. So I think we just do this.
My calculations are flawless.
Hope for something amazing. Kind of sad that that thing had taunt now. This would have been a fantastic answer. It still might be, but good old-fashioned play a 5/5 and get a free 9 cost. No big deal. We can do that again next turn if necessary. We have a lot of good late game value options. So the goal of our deck is to force them to spend multiple resources over and over to kill our like singular big threats at this point. They're trying to make sure they take advantage of the Wind Fury here. maybe healing this up again. No, just giving it the old Ancestral Spirit. Seems very strong. That's a great pickup for us as well, but we'll just go ahead and play another one.
Just in time.
And now, turn timers are short. Good news is our turns were already going to be short, but Dormu is cheeky. All right, Hagatha Scheme clears that up. No big deal. We'll go ahead and threaten lethal. Because if they cannot stop it, this plus our fireball plus a good old fire blast is solid. But again, I kind of expect them to have a hex. We still have not found a single Conjurer's Calling.
Unity.
We're trying to just play one card per turn if we can help it, because we want to maintain our maximum hand size for some of these effects. Specifically still the Mountain Giants, Conjurer's Calling. Normally I have the other problem. Typically I find Conjurer's Calling, and then for the life of me I just cannot find Mountain Giants, but this time around it appears to be a bit of an issue. That's a solid pickup. That allows us to stay on our one card per turn path and still clean this up as we try to generate pressure.
Unity. Precision.
Ziliax again. In case you haven't figured it out by now, this particular version of Shaman has an awful lot of life gain available to it. And I think we're just gonna have to give it to him again. So we'll do this. Just kind of clean that up. At least we get the 5 attack body on the board. All right, so this is probably going to be the Alec here, and there it is. Because that's the only other really big beefy threat hanging out there still. We still have not found, oh, I think we found it finally. All right, so. Gonna go ahead and make some bodies and force them to deal with it. Alright, so there is the second Hagatha Scheme. We'll go ahead and
Fate of the world hangs in the balance.
develop this. Cinderstorm seems fine, I guess. Play this for free. Wow. Did not get rid of this. I mean, we can use the ping next turn, but... There's the actual Alec here. Deciding to just go ahead and go face. We're gonna use this to clear those out of the way, I think. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to give up some of our hand advantage here so that we can start pushing. Because at this point, like, our other Conjurer's Calling is just buried. We gotta start trying to get some value. Alright. a wee bit annoying. So how do we want to tackle this now?
I see a vision in the
Let's
flame.
go see what this gets us. And it goes so many different ways on this. Let's do this because I think we're just gonna try to taunt up quite a bit here. Let's go ahead and push some damage.
Shield
Put taunt on the big boys. We'll save this for the following turn, but at this point, we're just gonna try to push damage and then stall. If this continues to make things, we can steal something with the MC tech. It's kind of our path to swinging tempo back in our favor at the moment. Because killing this is, they're just gonna get it back anyway, so we need to figure out a way to use this to our advantage. Now, at some point here, I'm expecting them to actually play their hero replacement card, because it generates them some additional health in the form of armor. Alright, so there's the second Haunting Visions. This. We're gonna take our MC tech. Oh, we really wanted to take that one. And a bit of a misplay in terms of sequencing on my part, because this bouncer,
arena's full.
the pair of them should have come down sooner.
Magic binds.
Pair of them should have come down sooner. So I think we'll just go ahead and do this as well. Now the only thing we have working for us now is that their crystals are quite overloaded from the last two spells they played. Still have one more MC tech here. Maybe we'll get another shot at stealing this. Alright, they're just going to top off with a pair of Witch's Brews. Thankfully they're overloaded, or else that would have been an awful lot of health for us to deal with. They can get back like 20 health if they're at the full 10 mana with that. So. Alright, top deck MC tech one time. There we go. Let's rip it. Rip it and rip it. Give it to me. Alright.
I got this.
Alright, we tried. Again, a bit of a misplay there because this would have been slightly cheaper.
Magic binds.
Arena's full.
We'll do our best. Hope that they don't have a second Witch's Brew here to top off. We'd like to be able to push. When they play their hero replacement, it's going to do an awful lot of damage. If I remember right, it's like 3 damage to the board, so that's also a problem. So that's kind of what we're dodging. We're trying to anyway. Alright, a little bit weird that they did that knowing it was just gonna die, but maybe they just had nothing else to do. Alright, so they are at 14. This gets us that much closer to actually just drawing out, which isn't exactly great. But it does give me the chance at drawing this to get rid of this with like some finality. We're gonna go ahead and do this, and it's a problem in terms of the fatigue game, but
Unwise.
it's the only way we have to deal with that. So if they've got the Witch's Brew here, then they are very far ahead on the fatigue race, but we can do our best. That's all we can do. Yeah, there's the Witch's Brew. That's rather unfortunate. So they're gonna get a lot of health back, make some value trades here, leaving us with just our poor silenced Peligos.
I'm almost out of cards.
Still have only seen the one Hex as a bit of a problem as well.
That
I don't think that they traditionally run weapons.
We must band together, united.
It's a risk that we have to take.
Conjurer.
We're gonna go ahead and develop Khadgar here. We only have the Crowd Roaster left. There's the final Hagatha's
I'm out
scheme.
of cards.
So we're gonna play this, and it's gonna immediately get hexed. And the problem is we have no other way to get cards in our hand to play this and calling at the same time. So unfortunately,
I'm almost out of cards.
this is just gonna be game. Once they hex this, we basically lose. I mean, we can play the Crowd Roaster. So here comes the hex, like clockwork.
Well played.
So we do have this.
I'm out of. Thank you.
Gives us some board presence.
I dream and the world.
All right, that's never a good sign. We know that they have Ysera. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. This, and we'll just use our second one here. Hope that that's enough. All right. They found Dream. There is Sarah. They're just doing that because it cycles. And all right, so despite our opponent's proficiency at wiping our board and emoting, we managed to still get the victory. So turns out emotes don't help you, gang. Let's play another game just so we can show off the deck a little bit more, maybe get the combo a bit earlier.
Khadgar versus Rexxar.
Looks like we are
Power.
gonna be up against Hunter. Book of Specters, great card to start with. We really wish we had the coin, just because it allows us to make some pretty powerful plays, but I think these go back, because we're looking for things like Fire Tree, Witch Doctor, and a dragon to pair it with. Oof, alright. Hunter comes in a couple of different flavors. There's Secret Hunter, Mech Hunter, there's like a Beast Hunter as well. This appears to be the Beast version. They typically are the ones that run Shimmerfly. We've got the book, but I'd like to contest that. And this, we're fine with playing this because it replaces itself. Oh, this is a tough call. This card ends up being very, very good once we've played some of those giants. The other ones are great at stalling. But I think we're gonna go all in on the combo synergy. We do have a Conjurer's Calling, so next turn we're likely gonna play this to hunt for giants while also filling up our hand. Alright. And here we go with the book.
Job's done.
And we got another Fire Tree, which is nice. For the following turn, we can use our hero power, play this, and it replaces itself. Because again, early on we're just kind of trying to maximize our hand. Oof. All right. So much for that hero power idea. That changes things. We don't want to let them have that, so we'll go ahead and do that. We're at 8 cards in hand. When we draw for our turn, that means we'll be at 9, so this would actually overdraw us. So what we're looking to do now is to not overdraw. We'll develop this now, and then play the book, just to dig deeper. And continue to not find a giant. And now the problem is we're going to overdraw on this next turn, and because we didn't find a giant, we're gonna have a bad
My
time.
hand is full.
All right, not punished too hard. We'll go ahead and do this, I guess. Sure, we'll just keep cycling through some of these. I guess we'll take another Conjurer's Calling. We don't want to overdraw, so as much as I dislike playing that, go ahead and at least gives us a board. Now we kind of force them into like, having to do something. Bummer downside is that means we don't get the value out of that we wanted, but we never found our giants, so. Khadgar has a lot of potential value for us. However, we're gonna start with this to get some health back. Just so that we have a board presence. Now the reason Khadgar has a lot of potential value is even if we don't find a giant, something like this that's a 5 cost, even if we just use 1 Conjuring on it, it's a pretty big deal, though this is going to be eaten now. And again, we don't want to overdraw, so we got to do something here. It's probably just this.
My calculations
It's a
are
good
flawless.
quality play. Gives us another big 9 cost creature that we can hopefully pair with our Khadgar. We're now in the driver's seat for the record. Alright. I mean, we're fine with that because this MC tech can go ahead and trade. This can go ahead and attack and generate value. And now we get to have some fun with good old Khadgar here. Let's go ahead and let's make some bodies. And oh, we didn't even get to do it again before the concede. Yeah. Didn't get to do it with the giants, but there's the combo. As you can see, you buy time in the early game. Sometimes more aggressive decks can really put pressure on you, and you'll have to weigh the benefits of keeping a full hand versus making sure that you just don't die. But if you can make it to the late game, then you kind of become this powerhouse of just playing singular big threats over and over and over again that require a response immediately, and you can usually use that to your advantage. So anyway, that is the Conjurer's Calling Mage. This is, I think, the third and final video that I'm going to be doing this week about decks I've been playing because I don't have the collection yet to do a full like meta recap, but these are what I decided to dust my old cards for and craft, and I'm having fun with them. They've been effective for me in my limited time. I think I might even try to push to Legend next season because this was my first season back and I started a bit late, so I'm not going to get there, I don't think, this season, but I am enjoying Hearthstone again. I didn't think I'd say that out loud, but it's fun. It's a good nostalgia trip. Outside of the Mage decks, most of them are not really like as random as Hearthstone gets the bad name for. The Mage decks, this one obviously you're randomly creating creatures with Conjurer's Calling, and then the Cyclone Mage is just a casino. It's a slot machine of spells, but outside of those two, I'm pretty comfortable with where the variance is for most of Hearthstone. So anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.